All right, so I think I might have been wrong about the car market, and I am. I don't like to ever say that I'm wrong, but this could be something that I'm wrong about. So 2 weeks ago, we went to the auctions. I'm a car dealer, and my mechanic Alex, he goes and buys a lot of cars for me, and I go to the car auctions as well. And we weren't able to buy anything, and we assumed that we weren't able to buy anything. Prices were too high, that's why we didn't buy. But that tax time had hit all these other dealers just like it had hit me. But now we went to the auctions again this week, and we even had the discussion. Me, my mechanic Alex, and my sales manager Nate. We had this discussion before Alex even went to the auction Tuesday. That's okay. Should we even go? Should we just stay here? Let's work on the stuff that we have to get out and get ready, and let's just get it pumped out because we don't think we're going to be able to buy anything. Well, Alex, we decided that okay, let's just go and see. Maybe we can get one or two or whatever, and maybe pay up a little bit just to get another car. We'll make a little bit of money on it, but just to see what the temperature is at the auction. Well, Alex was able to buy 6 cars at that auction, so that leads me to believe that I am wrong about what other dealers are doing right now because this is not something that we've ever had happen during tax time. Usually, what happens is that we sell these cars and then we can't buy anything for like a month. And it's we're only about a week and a half, 2 weeks into the midst of tax season right now, so we should not be able to buy cars at all. And I've got a list of what we bought, the mileage, and what we paid for them. And I'll tell you what we're going to plan on selling them for in just a little bit. But I wanted to talk about why this is so bad right now. If this is not a one-off scenario, and this is going to continue where prices are at a reasonable rate that we can actually buy at auctions. And this is bad because that means a lot of other car dealers, they're not selling cars like we are. Now, granted, we are a car dealer that sells cars that are $5,000 and under. Sometimes we'll have $5,500 cars, but it's rare. But usually $5,000 and under is where our sweet spot is. So the reason why we might have been busy and these other car dealers haven't is because of the economy being bad. And the reason I say that is because there's this middle tier of buyer that buys cars $5,000 to $15,000 in the used car market. That's like the middle tier. That's where you're going to get a majority of your car buyers in that middle tier. So what that leads me to believe is because we were busy, but those dealers were not busy in that price range, is that a lot of the buyers have shifted down from that 5, 10, $15,000 range down into the range where we sell, which is under that $5,000. And that's bad for the economy. That's showing that the consumer is out of money and they have to go to a dealership like mine that has more affordable cars, more cheap cars, to be able to actually get transportation for themselves. And because maybe even if they were willing to spend up and buy a little more expensive car, maybe they weren't able to get the loan for it, and then they had to figure out how to scrape together that $3,500, $4,000 car, that $3,500, $4,000 to be able to come and buy a car from us. And I'm hearing from a few other dealers that I know that they've been busier, but maybe not as busy as they had been. And I'm also hearing from a few other dealers that they're seeing higher price at auction. So maybe this scenario that we've experienced this week is a one-off, but it seems odd to me because we've never went through a time period in the car market right after tax season where we've been able to get decent deals. And it worries me. And what's going to end up happening to a lot of these car dealers, if they're not selling cars like we are right now, is that okay? They probably loaded up a little bit for tax time, and now, yeah, they probably sold a couple of cars, but not anywhere close to what they anticipated selling. And if that's the case, then they've already filled up their lots. And if they're only selling a few cars, they're not going to the auction to load up on half their lot full of cars right now. So it's not causing the prices to skyrocket at auction. And what that's going to mean for them, especially all these car dealers that are on floor plans. For those of you that don't know what a floor plan is, most car dealers, they don't buy their cars outright. What they do is they do the equivalent of swiping a credit card and basically use credit to buy their cars. So as their cars sit longer, they have to pay interest on their cars. And if they load it up back in the end of January, the middle of February, and they expected to sell all these cars, they probably overexposed themselves. They probably leveraged themselves a little too much, which is usually what happens before tax time. But tax refund checks usually always bail out these dealers because they're able to sell through their inventory. But this year, if they're not able to do that, then they're going to get pinched, and they're going to get pinched really quickly because after 30, 60, 90 days, they have interest payments. They have percentages of the total balance that they owe on those vehicles that they have to pay. And if they're having to borrow this money to buy their inventory in the first place, this is money that they didn't have to begin with. So what we'll see happen is just like on the consumer side, where consumers overexpose themselves, they'll go put a big down payment on a car that they probably can't afford. They can't afford the monthly payments during tax time. They'll do this. We'll see the repo season really starts in a big way about April, June, when they start missing a few payments, and these dealers will start repoing cars and start sending them to auction. We'll see a big spike of that right after tax season. But you're probably going to start seeing a spike of repossessions on the dealer side if they're not selling their cars. And yes, it does seem weird to say that a dealer is going to get their car repossessed, but it happens. I've talked to some friends I have that work for floor plan companies, and I've started seeing that these floor plan companies can run these cars through auction. It hasn't been something that we've seen a lot over the last 4 years, but it started creeping up about 6 months ago. And it's weird to see these cars go through the auction. And I'm a used car dealer at the auction, and I can see who is selling these cars. But it's very weird to see a floor plan company's name on the car. But so what that means is when we see that is that a dealer bought a car, they couldn't sell it for whatever reason, and then at that 90-day period, that 120-day period or whatever, when they're not moving these vehicles, the floor plan companies start to get worried if this dealer has multiple vehicles that they've had on their car, on their lot for 90, 120 days. So what my floor plan company buddy told me was that we go in and we help them sell their cars. And what they mean by that is that they go get these cars from the dealer lot. They repossess these cars from these dealers' lots. They take them to auction and they dump them. Here's the problem when a dealer has to go through that situation. When it's being sold by the floor plan company or it has the independent dealer's name on it, it's going to bring way, way, way less money than what it had when that dealer initially bought it for two reasons. One, we're in a down market. So 6 months ago, even as we're getting this tax time bump a little bit at the auctions, which I mean, it's debatable at this point because we were able to go in and buy cars. But let's say there's a little bit of tax time bump anyway at the auctions. Right now, the prices are still lower on the wholesale level than they were 6 months ago. So you have that one scenario that's bringing the prices down lower than what these dealers initially paid for these cars. But then you have the second scenario of, yeah, it being the floor plan company's name on the car, it be the independent dealer's name on the car, and dealers that are there purchasing cars like me, independent dealers. We don't like to buy from floor plan companies. We don't like to buy cars from other dealers because we know that car didn't sell for some reason, whether there's something mechanically wrong with it that the initial dealer did not want to spend the time, spend the money to fix it. It's an undesirable car, or they just have too much money wrapped up into it. 2 out of the 3 scenarios is something that I don't want to deal with. So when I see an independent car, when I see a floor plan company running a car, I don't even check it out. That's not a car I'm even going to raise my hand on because I know if that dealer that initially bought it, they couldn't sell it on their lot for whatever reason. What makes me think I can sell it on my lot? So that's just a car I'm just going to, I just know in my head there is something wrong with the car. Doesn't matter what it is, but there's something wrong with that car that did not allow that dealer to be able to sell it. So I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to buy that car. So our plan going forward, if I am wrong, and I hope I have been wrong about this tax time bump across the market, it means that we're going to be able to go and just business as usual and keep buying cars. We went to another auction yesterday. Like I said, at the Tuesday auction, we bought 6 cars. Yesterday, Alex was able to get 2 cars. Okay, prices, not great, but it was a smaller auction. And then today we're going to another auction, and we're going to do some filming at that auction. But I want to run through what he bought to show you kind of what we were able to get. He bought a 2005 Honda Civic with 153,000 miles, and we paid $2,100 for that. Now, all these cars that I'm telling you, we're going to have buyer fees on them too. I'm not going to go through the buyer fees, but just know they range anywhere from $215 per car to $215 a car to $285 a car, what we pay on top of. And then you got to think back in, we're going to have some stuff we probably have to fix on a few of them. And we're definitely going to have inspection. We're going to have cleanup. So just factor that in when I'm giving you these prices of what I think we're probably going to sell them for. But go back to it. The first one, 2005 Honda Civic, 153,000 miles. We paid $2,100 for it. It's probably going to be a $3,500 car for us. Next one was a 2008 Hyundai Sonata. It has 161,000 miles. We paid $1,700 for that car. That car's probably going to be $3,000, $3,500 for us. A 2008 Pontiac G6, 161,000 miles. We paid $1,300 for it. It'll be probably $2,500 to $3,000 is where we'll have that. Now, I always give a range whenever we're going to sell it, because if we don't have to do anything to the cars, a lot of times we can mark them for that lower range. But if we have to replace little sensors, anything like that, a couple $100, $300, we'll probably go to the top of that range when we're pricing it. A 2013 Ford Escape. It's got 159,000 miles. We paid $2,700 for it, $4,000, $4,500 for us. A 2006 Nissan Altima. I'm going to talk about this car for a second. So there's a lot of times people will say, well, because I talk about Nissan Altimas being good, but there's a caveat to that. A lot of people say, well, CVT transmissions are trash. I agree with you. They are, but this is a 2006 Nissan Altima, and it's the 4-cylinder. They didn't start putting CVT transmissions in the Altimas until 2007. So I love buying Nissan Altimas that are 2006 and under. We still have the regular transmission in them. Good cars. But it's got to be the 4-cylinder. The 6-cylinders, absolute trash. So Nissan Altimas get this really bad name in that 2002 to 2006 range because of their V6s. But if you dealt with a lot of these cars and know what are good cars and bad cars, there's dealers that will go in and say, okay, Nissan Altima 2006 is just a bad car. But what gives it that bad name is the V6 motor, the V6 transmission that they had in that car. And I know not to buy those, but I can get a better deal on the 4-cylinders. And I know they're a good car because a lot of dealers just see a Nissan Altima. They're like, I'm out. But the 4-cylinders are actually very, very good cars. But this was a 2006 Nissan Altima. It has 138,000 miles. We paid $1,900 for it. It'll probably be $3,500 car for us. And the last one, 1999 Nissan Altima. Yes, an older Altima. But it's only got 117,000 miles. And we paid $2,300 for it. I know it's an older car, but we can pay up for something that's got that's not a lot of miles for a 1999. And it's 117,000 miles. And I know what a lot of you are saying. Well, those cars are going to be disintegrated. They're junk at this point. I'm in North Carolina. We can actually buy a lot of these older cars, and the frames are absolutely fine. We're in a place that doesn't get a lot of snow. We don't have a lot of salt around here. So most of these frames that you can go out and look on my lot, they look brand new. I know if you're in the Northeast, you probably don't understand that because these cars, they wouldn't exist around you. You wouldn't be able to pay prices like that for a frame that is not rusty. And because a lot of people know that, they actually travel from the Northeast, from up north to come and check out cars and buy cars from the South. We recently had one of our viewers drive from Michigan all the way down to our lot to come buy a Ford Taurus from us. blew me away. Absolutely, he bought the Ford Taurus for $3,000. Um, it's just all that story just to tell you that, yeah, we can buy cars like this, these older cars, these 10, these 15, these 20-year-old cars at these auctions, and I can resell them because down here, if they've been in North Carolina for a majority of their life, their frames, they look absolutely, they still look brand new. Just real quick, I will go to the chat to see if there's any comments, questions. First one, raise prices. That will solve it. Talking about me being wrong and I need to raise my prices. No, that's not the situation that we're in. We want to continue to keep our prices low at this time because if dealers are not selling right now and auction prices are going to stay where we can actually move through some volume still, we can buy 6 to 10 to 15 cars in a week, then I want to continue to turn and burn these cars because what I perceive is going to happen to the market is that if dealers aren't able to move this inventory they have right now that they bought a month, 2 months ago for these really high prices, and the market starts to move down because tax money is already what I think is the tax money is probably almost out of the system at this point. So these dealers are going to be stuck with these cars. So I want to stay ahead of the market. And I think that the market's going to move down from here, especially on the wholesale level, because these dealers they're not going to be able to buy cars anymore because they still have cars on their lot that they're not selling. So if that's the case, I want to stay as cheap as I can on my lot because I feel like I'm going to be able to buy that same car that we bought 2 days ago. In a month from now, it might be $500 cheaper, meaning I can sell it for $500 cheaper in a month, 2 months from now. And I need to stay ahead of that market because when I go in, if I'm able to buy more cars for a cheaper price a month from now, and I still have cars on my lot that I bought 2 days ago, then that new car coming in is directly competing with the car that I have on my lot from a month ago. So I have to market that first car in a way to get rid of it quicker. Or I have to bring in that new car that's going to be competing with the old car and have to mark it up to the price that I have to sell the initial car to. And I don't want to do that. I don't want to bring in new vehicles that I have to mark up higher than what I would want to sell them for to be able to have a customer choose that older car instead of the newer car. I don't want to do that. We want to keep turning and burning them. And that means that every 2 weeks we're getting back on our schedule now is to drop all our prices by about $500 every time a car sits about 2 to 3 weeks on our lot. That's what we normally do throughout the course of the year. My dealership is lived on volume. We don't hit a ton of home runs. Every once in a while, we'll get really good buys, especially leading up until tax time. We'll be able to buy cars cheaper, and at tax time, we'll be able to sell them. But any other time of the year, what we like to do is turn and burn volume game, buy cars, make. I think our average is like $1,200 a car. So we'll start out at making $1,500, maybe a little bit more than that. If it doesn't sell in 2 weeks, we'll drop it $500. We want to move cars and we want to move them quickly, and that's what we do, and that's what we're going to continue to do throughout the course of the year. Let's see here. Seems like a super raw deal being a dealership mechanic these days. Yeah. I don't. The problem is with mechanics coming into and working for dealerships is that they're set at whatever rate that dealership is paying for them. If you go out and be a mechanic on your own, you can end up making a lot of money, and just doing the work on your own. A lot of these guys can charge, I mean, $100, $200, $250 an hour labor, turning riches on their own. A lot of times these mechanics can go and rent a bay from a bigger shop. So yeah, a lot of these mechanics that are going and working for dealerships, they're undercutting themselves whenever they're going to work. That's a side note there. That's a video for another day. We got another question. Is CarMax selling any cars? So I would anticipate that, like most other used car dealers, CarMax is a glorified buy here, pay here dealer. And what that means is that they are able to sell cars. They're able to write their own loans. They hold their own notes. They hold their own loans. they repossess their own cars. And at the end of the day, when they repo cars, they're able to send them through their own auctions. So CarMax has a lot of they're basically a self-contained market with where they can buy cars, they can sell cars, they can write loans, they can do auctions, they can do repossessions, and they can do it all under the same roof. So they can make a lot of money doing that. So all that's to say is that they should be making a ton of money in this market right now. And the thing is that they should be selling a lot of cars right now, but I'm very curious to see their upcoming quarter to see if they're having a lot of struggles that I'm seeing a lot of other car dealers have right now, where it's harder to sell vehicles. Tax checks, tax refunds are a lot lower than what a lot of people anticipated. And I wonder if that's going to actually hit CarMax's top and bottom lines, because they might have these estimates set out that, yeah, they're going to kill it during tax time. I've been to a CarMax lot recently and they were stacking cars everywhere. So just like all the other dealers that I talk about on a regular basis, they were preparing for tax time. So if they get into this tax season and it's not as good as they thought, and they're not selling as many cars as they thought, and the market starts to move down, it's different for somebody like me that might only keep anywhere from 80 to 120 cars. If the market moves down 10%, then it's not a huge chunk of money, but CarMax has tons and tons and tons of cars. So if the market moves down 10% and they have to take 10% off of all the cars that they have in their inventory, that's a lot of money. So I'm very interested to see CarMax's next quarter earnings, because that's going to show tax time and show how well CarMax did during tax time, and what they anticipate to do with a lot of this inventory that they're going to have sitting around for a while, because tax time is not going to be as good as what a lot of dealers have anticipated. I'm already hearing that now. So that's what I'm looking forward to see, and I will make sure we get it reported to you guys whenever it comes out. But as always, thank you guys for watching today. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please hit that subscribe button, like this video, and I hope you have a great